my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I am starting a vlog. I am doing a vlog, as you can see, for one of Pam Godwin's trilogies. This is a love triangle trilogy. So I'm going to be going over all three books in this vlog. So the way this actually started is I randomly picked this up. I had planned to start reading Pam Godwin's backlist because she's my favorite author, my favorite dark romance queen. And so I had actually I was planning on finishing the Deliver series. And I was on the fourth book, I believe, which is Devastate. And I was about to read it, but I'll look at people's reviews ahead of time just to see what people were thinking. And I saw somebody's review and it said that one of the heroes in this love triangle trilogy is introduced and gets his HEA, and obviously I think it's the one that obviously doesn't get picked in a love triangle book. And so he's going to be in the Deliver series, and it kind of ruins this whole trilogy if you don't read the trilogy first, obviously. So I basically changed my whole plans, and I'm not reading Devastate yet, and I decided I need to get this trilogy read so I can keep continuing with my so I can keep continuing with the Deliver series. So I actually just started it last night, and I'm about halfway through the first book, which is One is a Promise, I think that's what it's called. Yes, so the first book is One is a Promise. And so I'm very, very nervous about this because I don't really love triangles, but this is Pam Godwin, so I always trust her, and I figured I would give it a shot to see if I like it. There's kind of mixed reviews on this, but I think that's going to come into play, obviously, because it is a love triangle. A lot of people don't like those. So I got halfway through. It's of course, the writing is great. Pam's always good at hooking you in. I don't fully know how I feel about the heroine, but I am intrigued. So in this, we have Danny, and it's going to kind of show her current, the present timeline, and then flashbacks to her with her fiance. And Cole was her fiance. They basically had a whirlwind romance where he was kind of driving through her neighborhood on a motorcycle, and the old neighbors are freaking out about it. So she ends up just stopping him while he's riding through, and they instantly hit it off, and they get together that night. It's kind of crazy to me because she just seems so brash and ballsy and very I don't know. It just kind of turned me off a little bit because when she meets him, she literally straddles him on his bike first meeting him. And I just think that's a little who would fucking do that? So that kind of turned me off a little bit from her character, honestly. But I was oh, she's just ballsy and that kind of character. But so you get kind of some stuff about Cole. He was this tattooed motorcycle guy. He worked for the government, very kind of weird job where I think he does more than what he says he does, because what ends up happening is he proposes to her, and then he ends up letting her know he's going to have to go to Iraq for this one thing with, the government for a year. And it seems kind of I don't think he's telling her everything about him. So obviously he never comes back because the current timeline, it's the present, and then it goes back 4 years, 3 years, whatever. And so he has never come back home, and I think she assumes he's dead, but obviously he's not going to be dead. In the present timeline, she is a dancer. She does a lot of teaching, but she also does belly dancing at this one restaurant. And this guy Trace, who's a casino owner, he's very mafia-esque, billionaire, badass kind of asshole, ends up buying that restaurant and wanting her to be a dancer at his casino, at the restaurant he's creating there. And he acts like it's all business, but then he's very hot and cold. He's very they have this immediate connection, and they're drawn to each other. She hasn't slept or dated with anybody since her fiance left. But like it's very confusing because she doesn't know what he wants from her. It feels like he bought this restaurant just to get her to work for him. So he obviously has some kind of ulterior motives, but they keep having this pretty crazy push and pull. She ends up making these outrageous demands for like $300K a year and medical and all this stuff. And he basically gives it to her, but she has to dance there 5 nights a week. And so they keep having like interactions. He'll try to stay away from her, but then like he picked her up one time and took her on her errands and then ended up taking him back to his like penthouse. He lives in the casino, and they watch Dirty Dancing together, and it's very like sweet. There's literally a moment where like he brushes her hair because I think she had taken a shower or she had her top down in her car when they were driving around, and he noticed that she was having issues trying to detangle her hair. And so I think he literally had his like assistant chick buy a nice brush, and then he literally has her roll over and brush out her hair. So she's getting very mixed signals because he's like, nothing will happen between us. They've kissed pretty aggressively, like he's obviously very attracted to her and into her. But then he also comes off like a total fucking asshole. But you could tell like he wants things with her, but he knows that she's hung up on her fiance who's gone. And so he's not going there with her. But they've had some pretty hot kisses. And at first I was like, I hate this guy. You know, I'm only going to like Cole. But he's kind of done some sweet things. He like says this whole thing about her being not the kind of girl you leave, and he says all these sweet things about her. So she's very confused because she doesn't know what he wants with her and what's happening. And so that's kind of where we're at. We get some flashbacks of her with her fiance where he's jealous of her and her dancing partner and like attacks him and like punches him and is like very possessive. And so she gets pissed off about that. But she's very like, seems like a very sexual creature, hasn't had sex in a long time, and so she's really wanting to have sex. So I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about her. She's a little brash, a little like over the top, like being quirky, like opinionated, feisty girl, and hopefully she'll warm up on me. I don't hate her, but I'm nervous because once she starts falling or getting together with Trace, that's when Cole's gonna come back. So, and this is 3 books, so I don't know how long this is going to be too drawn out or what. But I need to go in because I'm actually going back to the dentist. I had a lot of dental work done last year, and I never did like this final extra check-in. And this whole side of my face where I had like 2 root canals and like this gum work done, like it was a lot of dental work. It gets like numb and tingly, and it's bothering me. So I'm not really nervous because I'm going back in the dentist, and hopefully it's not too bad. I don't know if it's nerve damage because I don't really think you can do anything for that. It's my fault. I let those things get out of control and not go to dentist for years. So I did this to myself, but I don't know. I think it's making my migraines worse because I had another migraine for like 2 days. I had to call out earlier this week, and it's just been a tough week. And usually I had that weird tingly feeling like near the end of the night, and now it's kind of happening all the time. So anyways, I will talk or check in with you guys a little bit later, probably after I finish the book. I'm hoping to finish it today. It's the end of February, and I want to get it done like by the end of the month. So I'll check back in, let you know how the dentist went. Hopefully it's not too bad news or anything. But I will see you guys on the next clip. Hey guys, so I am back. I had just finished doing the live show for the Mortals After Dark read along, which thank God Kim joined me because I was freaking out today. I've kind of done this to myself with this Mortals After Dark read along because I didn't fully ask a bunch of booktubers to do it with me because it's like 22 books in a year and it was just a big commitment. So I didn't know if anybody was even going to be able to join me for the live. And so I was just going to have to like talk myself. And so I was just really nervous. But anyways, Kim joined me and that was so much better. So Anyways, hope you're joining for the read along. You can join at any time and just jump in for specific books. It doesn't matter, just as long as you guys join me would be great. I do have a Discord too, where you can join my Discord, chat it up. I put little channel things for each of the books there. I also have one for like our buddy reads too, if you want to talk about the buddy read. Anyways, enough about that. So I finished Pam Godwin's first book. One is a Promise. Already forgot the name. Last night. And it was fucking crazy. Like, this book is crazy. So I was reading while at work, but I couldn't finish it. So I finished it last night. And I mean, this is like a toxic, angsty shit show. And we don't even get Cole coming back, because we all know, it's not spoiling anything, that her fiance is going to come back to life once she's settled with Trace. We know that's happening, but I was getting to like 85% and I'm like, we still haven't even gotten Cole. So there's so much that goes on the last 50% of this book. But like, the crazy stuff was like, so her and Trace are really like, have this push and pull. He keeps pushing her away, keeps like drawing her back in. And so it's messing with her mind. But he can't stay away from her. You can tell he has way deeper feelings. And I was kind of like not trusting him completely, because it seemed pretty shady that he like bought up that restaurant, like wanted to hire her so bad. He's going to pay her $300K. Like, it's just unreal. It's crazy. So you knew like something was up. Like, I was wondering if he had stalked her or something like that, or just been into her for a long time. And so that kind of gets revealed at the end. But to start off with here in the last half of this book, Trace basically kind of makes kind of an ultimatum at one point, because he keeps like pushing her away, but like wanting to be with her, but pushing her away. And he basically says, like, if he came back right now, would you choose me? And she can't answer that, because Cole is like the love of her life. Even though they were only together for 10 months, they had these insane strong feelings for each other. And they had this whirlwind romance. And so she just can't move on from him. And so she's like, that's not fair. That's not even a question, because he's dead. You do get flashbacks throughout this of her and Cole's relationship, and like, him building like her dance studio for her. Like, he's so swoony. He's very possessive of her, gets jealous of her dance partner. And but he has this secretive job for the government. Like, and I kind of like am curious how she just buys what he says, when obviously he can't really tell her everything about what he's doing and this and that. And so it's like, you knew he was like doing some spy level or government shit. But he's supposed to be gone for a year. And at one point in the flashbacks, she's like, it's like a couple weeks to the wedding, and she's still practicing like their first dance. And her sister's like, you need to wake the fuck up. Like, he's not coming. He was supposed to be home months ago. And then a guy comes to her door and says that he had like, there had been an explosion and he died. And blah, blah, blah. So, like, she never really had a death. He was cremated, which that's very suspicious. That the government's just telling you that. So, anyways. So, she's like, that's not fair to ask that of me, because, like, he can't come back. He's dead. And for you to make me, like, choose. And he's like, well, you're not moving on. Like, you have this locked room that goes down to the basement full of his stuff. You know, like, you still have his motorcycle out in like her house. Like, it's like a feature of the house. So he gets pretty upset and leaves. And she kind of has a wake up call and realizes she hasn't moved on. She's still holding on to Cole, and she's never going to be happy that she has to let him go. And so she kind of has this realization. And that night at work, she gets off work early, and she gets in a sexy dress, and she plans that she's like going to go up and tell Trace how she feels and that she is ready to move on. Because this whole time too, she was kept wearing Cole's ring and all this stuff. And so she took that off. Of course, shit goes sideways because when she gets up there, he is fucking his assistant chick that she was always kind of like jealous of or suspicious of. And he's like looking right at her with like dead eyes, and she's just heartbroken. She's like, can't believe she was opening herself up again. And she like fully is saying in her mind, she's like, has been acknowledging that she's in love with him. And then he did this. And so she was completely betrayed. She goes and she's like, well, he's fucking somebody else. Like, I'm going to go out. I need to have sex with somebody and put my ex behind me and put all this behind me. And is she acting irrationally? Yes. Do we do that when we get our heart broken? Yes. And so she ends up meeting this kind of nice guy, like at a bar, and she is going to take him back to her place. And she's worried like he won't even last. So she decides to give him a blowjob in the car on the way home. And then who shows up right behind them but Trace? And he is infuriated when he finds out she gave him a blowjob. He's like threatening this guy. This guy hightails it out of there. And so her and Trace have this big confrontation. They have pretty violent sex. So they do finally have sex. It's pretty dubious consent stuff, but he literally at one point tells her, you need to say no for real now if you don't want me to keep going. And she doesn't say anything. So I wasn't mad at it. So it's pretty brutal. And then the worst part is like she really gets off. She has this amazing sex with him, and then he just gets up and leaves. And it made her feel like trash. Like he just tossed her out like trash and used her. And so she was fucking devastated. And so instead of having another breakdown like she did after her ex had died, she picks herself up and she goes downstairs and she starts packing all of Cole's stuff up. Is it Cole? Yeah, Cole. He's barely in this story, I feel like. So then Trace shows up the next day and he's still in the same clothes, and he had basically been sleeping in his car right outside. And he basically apologizes, and he was like, I never had sex with her. And she's like, I fucking saw you. And he said that he had saw her coming and he thought she was going to go off on him and like quit. And since he made that ultimatum, and so he did it to hurt her and kind of like do that. And you kind of find out that assistant had like sexually harassed them and then said she was going to blame him for sexual harassment. So whatever. But anyways, so he like shows her video footage that like he didn't fully have sex with her at all, really. It just looked like it. And so she says, you know, I'll give you another chance, but like I don't trust you. Like you're going to have to earn my trust and my respect. And so he's basically takes like the week off work, just spend with her. And so they start like to really be together. Like they basically stay at each other's houses every night. They're in a very committed relationship. They really fall in love. They have some better like he doesn't have sex with her for a while after that because he really wants to earn it. And he wants more than just to be about sex. There was this really hot scene where he edges her all night. And then he takes her on a hot balloon ride and like fucks her on the hot balloon. And like the chick that was flying it or whatever had her head turned away and had like headphones on so that he could have the privacy and fuck her. And it was really, really hot. It was very creative. I appreciate Pam Godwin. So that was hot. The thing is like, you know, it's this thing hanging over this that Cole's going to return. And so you kind of know he's going to end up showing up once they're in a good place. And sure enough, he like proposes to her. She says yes. And like then one morning when she's, you know, up, she sees somebody pull up and it ends up being Cole. And then Cole sees Trace and he's like, who the fuck is this? You know, and Cole's not looking good. He looks kind of weak, like bags under his eyes, like, and she's just devastated. She's like, how could you do this to me? Like, I thought you were dead. Like, I mourned you for years. And like, how could you do this to me? And Trace is there, and she realizes quickly that Trace and Cole know each other. And it turns out Trace is Cole's best friend. And Cole's like, you were supposed to look out for her, not fuck her and take her from me. And it turns out that Trace has been watching her for years while Cole was gone and keeping an eye on her. But in doing that, he like fell for her. And so when she started to try and date again, that's when he kind of put himself into the picture. Because that first night when he showed up, she was on this date that he kind of, it went bad. And Trace shows up and the guy kind of like leaves. So then she starts putting two and two together. She's like, oh my God, this is why you kept pushing me away. Because you knew I was your best friend, you know, woman. And so Cole's like, how could you do this? Like, you know, and so it's just, it's a crazy cliffhanger because that's kind of where we're at of like Trace and Cole were best friends. She's in love with both of them. And then where do we go from here? And Trace is very alpha and very possessive, and they both are, and they're not going to share her. So that's why this is a love triangle. It ain't going to be an MFM or MMF. They ain't going to share this woman. So I really wanted to go right into the next one. I couldn't stop reading this. It was so toxic. I mean, like Trace and Danny were pretty toxic together, but he becomes pretty swoon-worthy in certain parts. So, like, you're really behind Trace. Like, I really like him. And so you're wondering who she's going to choose. I have a feeling she's choosing Trace. But I don't know. It's only the first book. And Cole has just finally gotten back into the picture. So anyways, I've already talked, but this was crazy. And once again, Pam Godwin can sell me on anything. Like, I don't like love triangles. If I see love triangle in the tropes, I stay away from it. But she somehow got me hooked. I really started to like Danny's character. She kind of annoyed me in the beginning with how ballsy and like throwing her leg over him and straddling him on the motorcycle and that kind of personality she had. But the more the story went on, she had so much more depth and she'd been through so much loss. She's such a giving person. She's like helps out at a shelter. She gives a lot of her money to them. So there's so much good to her. So I don't know. She's a very strong character for everything that she's been through. So I appreciated that. So anyways, I will check back in with you once I start. I'm probably going to put the other two on my TBR and read all of this in March. But right now I have to listen to an ALC and then I have to read an ARC. So I will come back to this in a little bit. I'm debating on buying the ebooks, buying the physical books, or getting the audiobooks for the other two. So I don't know what I'm going to end up doing. We will see. But I am excited to finish this love triangle. All right. I will see you guys on the next one. Hey guys. So I am back with this vlog. I'm finally back. I've been reading a bunch of ARCs and ALCs. I don't even know when this vlog is going to go up, depending on how fast I read through this Tangled Lies trilogy. I think it's called the Tangled Lies trilogy. Anyways, I'm not sure when it's going to go up. Right now, it's actually like mid-March. So, update on my teeth situation. I think this was the vlog where I talked about going in for a dental appointment. Basically, like this whole cheek and like outside of my lips is like very tingly and numb. And it's like, you know, I kind of ignored it for the last year, because I had a lot of dental work done the last year. And so I just thought it was stuff from that pain, from all that work. And it was just, I just had to deal with it, and it would happen sporadically. And then now it's like pretty much 24/7. It like, I know it doesn't look it, but it just feels like it's swollen or something and numb and tingly. So when I went to my dentist, they gave me a referral to a dental surgeon to see if I have nerve damage. So today I had to go to that appointment, and it didn't go great. It's good news because it doesn't seem like I have nerve damage, but I have to go to my neurologist. Now, I do suffer from chronic migraines for like almost 20 years now, maybe 20 years. They've been really bad, so it could be a neurological thing or maybe connected to my migraines. I don't know, but he basically had to do a 3D type of scan, and he like was touching my face with these tools, and like I could feel the stuff, so he was saying it wasn't nerve damage. It just seems crazy to me that the left side, which is the side that had all the dental work, is the side that has the issues. But when I Googled things, which is not a good thing, I saw all this stuff about reasons your left side of your face could be numb and tingly, and so I started freaking out. So I need to stay away from Googling. But he basically told me I need to reach out to my neurologist because it might be another issue, and there might not really be anything they can do for it. So I don't know. It's not like throbbing pain, but it's very uncomfortable, and like it just like this whole part of my face is feeling numb and tingly. So. And that stupid scan that I had to get, it's not really covered by insurance. So I had to pay $350 for the scan to tell me nothing's wrong with me. So I was very frustrated today. So anyways, I just need to rant to you guys because this has just been like on my mind 24/7. I am happy. I don't know if I believe him. No, he's a doctor. I guess I should believe him. But there's no nerve damage, because I was freaking out about like what kind of surgery that would be and how much that would cost. So anyways, just a little fun dental or face update. I don't know, you guys. I'm out of it. But anyways, I am about 50% through the second book, which is called 2 is a Lie, and it is the Tangled Lies Duet. I have my little Kindle here. So I'm about 50% through, and I don't love this one as much as the first one. And I think it's because it's very about the love triangle, and I don't like love triangles. And I think I'm like leaning towards one hero pretty much already, which I will explain who I am, but I like both of the heroes. So we have Trace, and I think it's Cole. Is it Cole? Yeah, Cole. Sorry. Okay, so this book honestly picks up right where the last one left off. You know, Danny is pretty much shocked out of her mind when her first fiance comes back to life, and pretty much we find out that Cole did have kind of he sounds like he was undercover special ops type of spy shit, which he can't explain anything to her, but basically when he shows up, he explains that like her life was in danger if he would have come back. So he had to like lay low for like 4 years. He got all his tattoos removed, changed his appearance, and kind of had to live in a hole in the wall, like in another country. And he couldn't return yet because it wasn't safe for her. And he had actually, I'm sure I revealed in the last vlog update, but it's been like a couple weeks. We find out that Trace was actually his friend, but he was more than his friend. He was actually his handler at one point. So Trace used to be working for the same government, doing the same type of spy shit, but he got out of it. He was like, got this huge inheritance, and he ended up opening his casino. So he had stepped away from that. But Cole wanted him to keep an eye out on Danny, which he did for years. And like he became obsessed with her, but it wasn't until she started to try dating again that he basically had to try and step in and all of that. So I don't even remember what I covered in the last one, so I'm sorry if I'm saying the same things. But basically now she's stuck with these two men she's in love with. She can't pick. She doesn't know what she's gonna do. She has really fallen in love with Trace. They had such a complicated start and a complicated, crazy relationship. But by the time that Cole shows up, they're like in love. He proposed to her. They're gonna get married. But she's also engaged to Cole from 4 years ago. And so it's this big, huge, what do we do now? And so that's kind of what the first half of this book has been, just centered around, like, what are they going to do? And like at the first part, they're like all staying in that house together. She does make Trace move down to sleep on the couch, and Cole is like sleeping in like the basement or whatever. And that's not working so great. And so she ends up having Trace move back to his, casino hotel, like his suite. And then she is having, Cole still live with her, but he can't sleep with her. He has to sleep down in the basement. And so she kind of comes up with the thing of like, either I choose one of you and break the other's heart, or like, I'm going to have to basically, I need to date both of you, start over, and see who I want to be with more. Because the thing is, this is not a white choose. This is not going to be a menage. These guys are very possessive, and they want her to themselves. They don't want to be in a relationship together. That would make things really easy on Danny if she could just have both of them, but that's not going to work. I mean, these guys have already come to blows a couple times. Like at one point, like Cole snuck into her room when she was sleeping and slipped his engagement ring on her. And so him and Trace, she woke up to them like basically fighting out in the lawn. So she can't know anything about Cole's past though. So that's kind of like a very tough thing, because he can't tell her, for her safety, and obviously for so many other reasons if he's like spy level shit. But that's going to kind of lead to some distance between you two if you can't fully have that part of your relationship. But she's just really struggling. So she's trying to like date them both separately. So here's the thing. I am having a tough time with this one because I just hate love triangles, and it's just so like, and there's a whole other book after this one. So I have no idea what kind of roller coaster Pam is going to take me on. The other thing is like, I honestly like Trace more for her. And I know most people probably don't agree with that. Like, I don't know who everybody's favorite is. I'm staying away from like reviews and spoilers of this. But I just feel like her and Cole, like literally were like insta love, insta lust together. That's why I didn't really fully love her character in the beginning, because she literally meets him. He's driving by on a motorcycle. She like straddles him and introduces herself that way. And I was just like, who the fuck would do that? Who would do that? Maybe you would, sorry. But I definitely wouldn't, and I thought that was a little over the top. And literally their first date, they were already effing and basically moving in together, and they were together. So to me, that didn't really build a whole like foundation and watching them fall in love. So it's not really fair to Cole's story that that's kind of what I'm viewing it as. Also, like, I mean, with Trace, it was like a hard won HEA for them at that time. It was an HEA, but like Cole, like, really had to push her away because he didn't want to step across those boundaries and fuck over his friend, and he knew there was a chance he could be alive and come back, and so he didn't want to fall for her. So he really had to act like an asshole, which he really regrets. And so I just like his character a little bit more. He's like the reserved, cold, like badass guy. So I always love, that's the kind of guys I love. But I also think we actually got to see them fall in love with each other and have this insane relationship. And it was toxic and all over the place, but I believed it. And so I felt like there was so much more to their relationship than this just insta love thing that her and Cole had. So which is a deeper relationship? Like, to me, it's the one with Trace. And he's the one that's being more understanding, and he doesn't want to wait, but he doesn't want to pressure her. And I don't know, like, I'm just really liking Trace for her a lot more. So I'm hoping that it's going to be Trace. And I feel bad because Cole is a sweet, like, amazing hero too. But I just felt like the romance was lacking. Like, it didn't show a buildup of their romance. They were just instantly in love and instantly soulmates and meant to be together. So there's not a lot there for that foundation of that. So anyways, I'm going to stop rambling because this is already going to be probably a long vlog. but I'm going to try and finish this one and then check back in with you. I might go right into the next one, depending on how I'm feeling at the end of this book. If I'm feeling like I need a little break from the love triangle, I might do that, but it just depends on the type of cliffhanger that Pam will leave me on. All right, I will check back in with you once I finish this one. Hey guys, so I am here with another check-in. I actually finished Two is a Lie, which I think that's the name of the book, last night. So I want to make this check-in pretty quick. It's a lot colder than I thought it was going to be outside right now. And I've been cleaning the house all day, so I'm just kind of not looking my best, but this is a vlog. What else do we expect from my vlogs? But anyways, I did finish this book. I didn't love it as much as the first one. I think it was very focused around the love triangle, which it's supposed to be. But I do honestly think that not a lot happened in this, where it made me feel like this didn't need to be a trilogy. It could have been a duet and we could have summed things up. And I didn't really feel like we needed to draw this story out into 3 books. But I still enjoyed it. Pam Godwin's writing is always sucks you in. I read it really quickly, so there's that. I will say that Danny makes some frustrating decisions in this, but Pam Godwin does a really good job of making you empathize with her tough decision, because she really is in love with both of them and is like not able to make a decision. Now, she does that stupid like sex ban thing, which we all knew she wasn't going to be held up to like having no sex with the 2 guys that she's into. But what she ends up doing, which I was very frustrated by, but I still had empathy for, was she ends up having this like no sex thing, but as her and Cole are dating, they do this special date where he teaches her how to like, he does like scuba diving. Obviously he learned that. She finds out that he was like in the Navy SEALs, but he wasn't fully in Navy SEALs because basically the special ops unit kind of thing, that secret organization, picked him up before he was ever like officially in the Navy SEALs. Anyways, he takes her on that kind of date and they do. This was the most creative like sex scene ever. Was like underwater, like in a pool, but like a 15-foot deep pool, and they're like get it on underwater with scuba gear and sharing the air and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely give props to Pam Godwin for doing such a creative sex scene, because I've never read anything like that. And it was hot. I just don't really connect to them as much as I do with her and Trace. And so with her having sex with him, that was bad enough. But she has sex with him many, many times, or she can't even remember how many times she has sex with him by the time Trace finds out. Because, of course, she's having sex with Cole, but not with Trace. So Trace is still cuddling with her, sweet little evenings, whatever, but, like, Cole is fully getting to fuck her again. Now, I think Pam kind of chose to do this to kind of show her and Cole's dynamic, because we've gotten a lot more of her and Trace together. So I do appreciate that. But I just felt like it was very centered around sex. Like, to me, their relationship and dynamic is all sexual. Like, besides them being so deep and so in love, like, they were like instantly in love, instantly together. It's freaking cold out here. So, I mean, it just didn't really, I don't know, their relationship doesn't hit me as hard as hers with Trace. So she ends up hiding it from Trace, and to the point where they're at, like, they do, like, I think it was Christmas or Thanksgiving, whichever one, with her sister and her family, and she invites both of them, which is just, like, awkward as fuck. And then Cole follows her into the bathroom and fucks her in there while, like, Trace is out with her family, and I was just like, that's fucking wrong. Like, he just goes about things in a way that I didn't think was very respectful. And she was supposed to go home with Trace that night, and she was, like, going to tell him everything that night. Of course, the time when she decides to have sex, and he kind of comes in the room after she leaves, and he knew instantly she had fucked Cole. And so he takes her back to the suite and kind of they have a confrontation about it. And he's very calm, cool, collected, because that's who Trace is, but it's almost scarier when he's like that. And it basically gets revealed like he knew that she was having sex with Cole the entire time, because he could tell the next day, because the next day after she had sex with Cole, she got really sick to the point where like Trace thought she might be pregnant. She wasn't pregnant. She was an IUD, but he knew when he saw her face and her guilt the next day, he knew that she had slept with Cole, but he was waiting for her to tell him. And so the fact that she didn't tell him just like, you know, broke his heart. And so they end up hate fucking kind of. He like leaves without finishing and like kind of just leaves, and he ends up like banning her from his rooms and like not seeing her. He basically kind of ices her out. And I totally understood Trace's feelings in that. You know, she totally fucked up and she hid it from him. And I think that's what killed him. But so anyways, not much happens. It's just a bunch of her and Cole having sex, her and Trace being on the outs because of what gets found out. And then she gets delivered these pictures of Cole fucking somebody, but it's back when he was tattooed up. So it was back before he came back. And she immediately jumps to the conclusion that he like cheated on her, which I thought was a little ridiculous because it could have been from anything from his past and obviously from his enemies. And she immediately jumps to him cheating on her when she's literally with him and Trace at the same time. So I thought that was a little ridiculous. And then there was pictures of Trace with like a dead body in her house where somebody had come to try and kill her when Cole's cover was blown and Trace killed him. And so she goes to confront them, and like she finds out that they had her house bugged and, you know, cameras, and she felt like her privacy was totally, you know, breached, and it was just so wrong. And then she immediately accused Cole of cheating on her and didn't really get the info. And then she's mad at Trace for killing somebody, but it was to protect her. So that didn't make a lot of sense. But, you know, she is just jumping to conclusions because this bitch can't make a decision. And I felt like she just kind of pushed them both away so that she wasn't forced to finally choose. So she ends up storming out, and she's like going to sell the house and move to Florida with her parents and get away from them. And then at the end, like, as she's like locking up the house, she's about to move, somebody left like her favorite coffee on the porch, and so she drinks it, which I thought was really crazy that you just drink some random drink. And she gets drugged and crashes down, and that was the end of the second book. So honestly, not a lot has happened, but I am hooked enough to pick up the next one. So I'm starting that today. I'm going to try and read as much of it as I can. I hope I can finish it today. But I'm not sure. It depends on how fast I get into it. But, so like the first one, I gave 5 stars. I was hooked. It was toxic. It was angsty. I was into it. This one, it was just okay to me. So I decided I'm probably going to give this like a 4-star because I'm still invested. I'm still interested. But I obviously have my favorite. So we'll see who she picks. But I will get started on the final and third book, and then I will check back in with you once I'm like halfway through, because I know this vlog is already too long, as usual. All right, I will see you on the next clip. Hey guys, so I am here, and I'm actually here to wrap up this vlog because I just finished 3 is a War. I just decided not to even do a check-in. I just wanted to bang through this book and just discuss the whole thing because already I feel like this vlog is kind of long. And so I just decided I'm going to finish the book and we'll just do our final thoughts on this. So this was a roller coaster of a trilogy, and this last book picks up right after the last one. We did end up with that cliffhanger where she's drugged and she's being taken, kidnapped, whatever. She wakes up, she's in a room. It's like in a very remote area in this really nice house with like a lake and all this stuff. And she has no idea who's taken her. Why is the room open? Like, you know, she thinks it's like their enemies who could have her. And she goes downstairs and she sees Cole sitting on the couch. And Trace actually has a gun on him. And so she's thinking, did Trace do this? What the fuck is going on? Well, they both did it, because during the 5 weeks that she had split from them and was like basically packing up her life, they kind of came together, came to some decisions, kind of made a truce to kind of figure this out, because, you know, they wanted to get her back and have her choose and make a decision and not run from them. And so she's basically going to be in this house with both of them for like the next 6 months. They're like, let's give it 6 months. We're not forcing a decision out of you. When you know, we'll all know. Like Trace says that at one point, like, when you make your decision, we're all going to know. Like, we'll all feel it. And so they kind of have their own rules set where they're like, we're going to make the decisions when it comes to sex. That's not up to you. They don't want it in her head and her feeling guilty and all this stuff. But they kind of came up with an interesting way they went around that, because they're very jealous, they're very possessive, and they want her to themselves, but they know that's not going to work. That's why they all need to live in the same house, because before, when they were like in different places, they would get jealous, just going out of their mind, thinking about what she was doing with the other one. So they're all going to be in the same house, and they are all sleeping in the same bed, if that doesn't get crazy enough for you. So she's basically in this open kind of relationship that's not an open relationship, but both of them. The way they have this set up is like whatever one does, the other gets to do. So most of the time they're only kissing, or like if one of them goes down on her, the other guy can go down on her then. So they kind of are not letting her give them blowjobs or have sex with them, because they don't want her to have sex with the other guy. So it's that complicated dynamic. Now, throughout this book, it's kind of angsty. It's kind of just like, what the fuck is she going to do? She still can't make a decision. She's still like heartbroken. She does get the realization, I kind of brushed past this, sorry, but that Cole never cheated on her, which I knew she jumped to a conclusion. That was like during a previous like spy chick that he had worked with. She had sent those pictures to kind of fuck him over, because she ended up being a traitor, and he had set her to prison and all that kind of stuff. That's like a whole like his side plot kind of thing, which is important, but like whatever. And then, so she really feels guilty that she left them and kind of jumped to conclusions and she acknowledges that she basically did that because she couldn't make a decision. And it was like her coward's way out of having to choose. So now she's forced to have to come to this decision, and, you know, she loves both of them. And she starts to think like, well, I should just be with my first, like Cole was my soulmate. Like he was my first love. Like I should just be with him. Then they have this crazy night of that. It's pretty spicy, but neither guy really enjoyed it, but they felt like they had to do it. They went out dancing for her birthday, and it got hot and heavy. And so they all basically kind of have a sharing scene, but the guys are having nothing to do with each other. Like she's giving Trace a blowjob while Cole like F's her. And then she starts to fuck Trace, and then Cole basically, they do double penetration. So it's a whole thing, but neither guy wanted that. Like, and so she feels guilty that they did that. And Trace gets kind of irritated and goes in the bathroom after it. And she's like, well, why'd you do it? You know, and he's like, 'cause you wanted it. That's why we did it. So it's a complicated situation. And she eventually is like just leaning to, I need to make a decision. We can't live like this for another 4 months. Like, this is insane. And she just decides to go with what she thinks is the right thing of being with her first love. So she chooses Cole. And I got really upset and emotional during that scene where she basically tells Trace, I choose Cole. And like Trace is devastated and basically just starts packing his stuff, and she's like falling apart, like begging him to talk it out. And he's like, we knew this was going to happen. It was going to be a choice. you made your choice. I'm gone, and he basically leaves. And there was a really great moment where like Cole comes in and sees him like about to leave, packed up, and he goes and like they kind of talk and hug it out, like, because they've both been through this hell over her. And so we kind of have this period of time where her and Cole are just living in the house together. They're really like reacclimating to just being them. And she does love him. She really loves him, but she misses Trace, and she's still devastated over not being with Trace. And I mean, it's like a 7-month period, and him and Cole and Trace are like talking on the phone and touching base. So it seems like their friendship has kind of been renewed, and they've like kind of come together. But like you kind of see this, there's this really sad scene where like they do their like wedding dance together, and she doesn't feel anything. She's like, he's dancing perfectly. I love him. He's great. But like, I don't feel it. And she starts to realize she just made the choice based off of who she thought she should pick, not who she really wanted and like what her heart wanted. And so Cole and her have a discussion because he's like kind of sitting in his like armory room that he had, and he's playing this song that's like about a like kind of like end of the road relationship that can't really work. And he's like, you just did what you thought was right. You settled for me, but you love him more. And so he's like, you need to be with him. So they kind of have like goodbye sex, and she wakes up and he's gone. And so she returns home to try and win over Trace, but it's been 7 months. And so she shows up at like the casino, and he's at a dinner with another woman, and she's like jealous, but she has no right to be jealous, kind of feelings because what she did with Cole. And so she kind of talks to him, and he ends up doing the same thing that they did like when he first came, like in the first book, where he sent a driver trying to pick her up and stuff. And so she kind of plays it out like they did on that first night. And then he shows up in the house, and he's kind of cold, and he gives her her job back, and it's just like goodbye, And so she's determined to win him back. But it literally lasts a day, because like he shows up with that woman while she's dancing, and then he calls her over, and she's like, are you fucking him, to that chick, and it's like the new CEO. He basically still owns the casino, but he's not the CEO, and he stepped back from it. And he kind of puts her out of her misery that they weren't together or anything. And he basically tells her, like, you don't have to work for anything, I saw the devastation on your face when you saw me with her, and I'm not going to play those kind of games with you. Like, you have me. I love you. I'm yours. That's it. We're together. Like, he doesn't make her beg for him back or grovel. Like, he's just like, I love you. You're everything to me. And so they, reunite, and it's amazing. And I love that it's a Trace, you guys. Like, I was so pissed when it was Cole, and I really like Cole. So I'm happy that the guy that doesn't get chosen, he's going to have his happily ever after in the Deliver series. So it's going to be interesting what he's going to have to go through, because now he's back doing his old type of work. So, but I love this point where like he just puts the ring on her, and he's like, we're getting married on Valentine's. Like, he doesn't even give her like a choice. It's just like, we're getting married, like, you're mine. And they just had such a more deeper connection to me. I always just felt like her and Cole were like insta-lust, and they like considered themselves soulmates because it was like that first love. But her and Trace had to go through so much more, and their connection just felt deeper to me. And like, I just felt their connection way more than any sex scene that she had with Cole. Yeah, they had great sex, but it just didn't feel the same to me as like her connection with Trace. Like, they were just so much more emotionally connected, like the way they would look at each other, like feel each other. Like, I just really felt like Trace was the one. So I was getting emotional. But then when it turned around and she did get Trace, I was very happy. So I have to say, I'm happy with the conclusion of this trilogy. If she didn't choose Trace, I was going to be pissed. But she chose him. So this was a struggle. This is a crazy trilogy. but Pam Godwin managed to make me feel for each of the characters in that triangle, and that's kind of hard. Usually, you know, you just pick one and you're all about him. I did really like Cole, and I felt really bad for him, and I felt the heartbreak. Like when they get married, like Trace invites him so that she could have closure, and like Cole's kind of like running out, and him and Trace are like hugging and holding each other, and it was just really beautiful for her to see their friendship come back together. And so I don't know, there was just a lot more to this than like the typical love triangle. So I definitely think it was an interesting read. Obviously, I've just spoiled the entire trilogy for you, but that's what we do on my vlogs. We're here to hear my rambling thoughts about these books. So I enjoyed it, and now I got to get back to the Deliver series so I can see what happens to Cole. So I'm very excited for that. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button, comment, leave me, you know, any comments you think about this trilogy, if you read it, what you think of love triangles, all of that. And I will see you guys on the next one.